Good morning, everyone. My name is Awan Blasak, and I'm a fourth-year graduate student at the University of Harvard in the Political Economy and Government program. I'm extremely excited to be here today and to talk to you about the relationship between the social structure of a group and the contemporary distribution of risk. For years, economists have studied the sharing of risk and local resources in the developing world. One of the seminal papers on this topic is Townsend 1994, who, with a data set from India, showed that although income fluctuates consistently for different households, consumption remains for them fairly steady, suggesting that there is risk sharing among households. This evidence motivated many economists after him to try and understand better how risk sharing happens among households when credit and insurance markets are incomplete. Up to the early 2010, most studies have focused on the village and the family as the main unit of redistribution. Although that was probably it was probably fine in most contexts, it was not necessarily accurate in every context that people consider. Indeed, the different cultural practices and traditions shape the social network and resulting economic obligation that people face, and as such, they actually shape risk sharing. To this particular point, a new study by Mazzocco and Saini provided evidence that in India, castes appear to be an important unit of redistribution besides the village. Related to these, my colleague and I have started investigating how the social structure of an ethnic group affects the distribution of economic outcomes today in East Africa, and in particular Kenya and Uganda. We have more in particular decided to focus on those ethnic groups that have HSET today. So what this means is basically that these groups are organized around age, and groups of men primarily are initiated together and progress through different phases of life together, which implies that they form a very strong bond that we hypothesize translates in economic obligation. We compare that to kin-based societies, so those groups that are instead organized around the family, in which we expect to have strong intergenerational networks. So our main hypotheses are that intergenerational ties are stronger in HSET societies, and intergenerational ties are actually weaker. We find strong evidence that this is true both in Kenya and Uganda, and that it actually has massive consequences in terms of the distribution of cash transfers both in Kenya and Uganda. And this has very important impact on variables such as nutrition, children nutrition, education, and household consumption. As such, is really, really important, we think. So to conclude, there is growing evidence in the field of economics that the social structure matters for the mitigation of risk in a group, and that the fact is probably mediated by the shape of the underlying social network. In a time in which policy changes very fast due to the emergential status imposed by the pandemic, it is really important and fundamental to understand the fact that a new provision and a new policy will have on a group. So how will it spill over? Who will it affect? Who will the policy not reach at all? So as such, we think that when we think about poverty alleviation and such policy, trying to understand how the social structure will interact with them is extremely important and should not be ignored. Thank you.